Good morning, folks. Michael Anthony here. Morning coffee. You probably thought I was going to say morning tapping, right? Well, I already did a bunch of tapping, but in this video, we're not going to be tapping. So I wanted to talk to you about a subconscious reprogramming technique that I've not shared in the past. It's one that I've used successfully in the past in a very powerful way. It's a very powerful technique that only takes a few minutes a day. You can do it multiple times a day. And I would suggest trying it for at least 30 days if you're going to take it on. There's lots of different ways to work with your mind. It could be visualization. It could be creative imagery, which is, essentially visualization, but there's different ways to do it. It could be meditation. It could be through breath work. It could be through affirmations and journaling. It could be a combination of these things. But there's all sorts of other techniques. Hypnosis, self-hypnosis, EMDR, right? There's a lot of different techniques that could be implemented. One thing I tell people is to try different things. Find what resonates with you. Even if you got to change it up every once in a while. One thing I do caution people against is there's this self-help personal development cycle you can get into where you almost get addicted to learning new techniques, right? There's all these different techniques, all these different people out there like myself that are sharing them. And you're like, I'm going to try this and I'm going to try that and I'm going to try this. And I think that's great. But what becomes a problem is people get addicted to learning the new techniques, but then they don't actually give them a chance. They don't apply them. They don't hardwire them into their daily habits. And that could be that's like a trap, because then every day you're learning and listening about new techniques, but not utilizing them. And there's infinite amounts of advice and techniques, but if you're not applying them and using them daily, like actually doing the work, then nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to change. So I'm all about exploring and expanding your knowledge and trying different things. I'm always learning and expanding and growing, but I have my core practices, and that's the first thing I do every day, right? So for me, it tends to be EFT, tapping, meditation, visualization, sometimes breath work, journaling I do quite a bit. And so I use a combination of different things, but I'm always trying new things and adding new things and seeing how they resonate with me. So do that for yourself as well. Now, this technique I'm going to share with you, I learned from Dr. Henry Grayson probably about 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago. And I only used it for a month. But I was looking back at my notes, and I got notebooks full of research and notes from years past that I like to go back to. And I found some of these notes from 2019 and 2020. And it's kind of amazing the manifestations that occurred. So before I share the technique with you, I want to share how this was very powerful for me and why I'm implementing it again in 2025, at least for a month, to see how it works out, and then probably again later this year. But anyway, this technique's pretty powerful. So I want to share with you. It's a subconscious reprogramming technique. It uses both, you're accessing and stimulating both sides of the brain. You're using creative imagery. You're using emotional framing and anchoring to really bring to fruition that which you desire, right? By programming it into the mind. So I did this multiple times in January of 2019. And I was essentially focused on abundance and prosperity, money, and also wanted to have more confidence in what I was doing with my career, my work, my businesses, and also looking to acquire a second property, which I'm in right now. So obviously that manifested. But the thing was, my wife and I had our luxury townhome in the big city in Pittsburgh, and I always wanted a second property because I'm a very avid outdoorsman. I wanted a second property, a country home, but I didn't want to sell our townhouse, so I wasn't sure how to afford it. So I didn't focus on the how, but I wanted a property. I wanted acreage. I wanted woods and fields, right? So I wanted this big property with a lot of land in a log cabin country home. And there's a whole story behind that I'd like to share in the future that I haven't shared with you guys yet that's extremely powerful and in some ways miraculous. But anyway, that was one of the aspects that I was using this technique for. So I only did it for 1 month, but over the course of 2019, I have some notes here from 2019 and 2020. So I was focused on abundance and money. Over the course of 2019, I ended up taking a job with a company, a full-time job, and it was with a company I used to work for many years ago, and I wanted to come back to this company. And there were no job offerings that really resonated with me. And so I kind of put the intention out there using this technique and some other techniques too, like tapping and visualization. And in January, the same month, in January of 2019, I ended up getting offered a job back at that company. My base pay increased by $15,000 a year, the base salary. Over the course of the year, by the end of the year, December of 2019, I got offered another job with the same company, and my base pay increased another $25,000. So my base pay over the course of 1 year went up $40,000, and it was kind of, amazing, right? Because I was focused on abundance and prosperity, and also this specific company. And boom, I was back at the company, and over the course of the year, the base pay went up, $40,000 total. My income had pretty much doubled when you calculate everything, bonuses and stuff like that. My income literally doubled from January 2019 over the course of that year. Pretty amazing, right? Now, on top of it, I've always been an entrepreneur, so I have, my side businesses. I do my coaching. I have an outdoor hunting and consulting business. And so my consulting business, I picked up multiple clients over the course of 2019. So 2019 was an amazing year full of abundance and prosperity. Now, by February of 2020, I was in this position now to acquire a property that I wanted. And I manifested exactly what I wanted, a log cabin country home with 25 acres of land, everything down to the detail. It's kind of amazing. I'll share that story some other time. But by February 2020, I found that property, and by March, closed on the property, purchased the property. So in the course of a year, I was able to reprogram my mind, let go of things that were holding me back, and align with more of that which I desired. It was pretty amazing, right? Now, am I attributing all of these manifestations to this specific technique we're going to talk about today? No, but it was pivotal, because things started happening right away in January when I did this technique. Now, I was already working on visualization and meditation. I was working on breath work to be, more emotionally aligned and grounded in my life, and using tapping to let go of the limiting beliefs and reprogramming the mind. But this specific technique, which we're going to get into right now, I think was very impactful on programming my mind to align with more of that abundance, prosperity, the money, right? The income, success in my business, my side business, my hunting consulting business, and then also just bringing to fruition the ability to purchase my country home. And now we have 2 properties, and we've been here, for 4 or 5 years now. It's pretty amazing. So with that being said, let's go ahead and shift into the technique. Very easy to learn. I'm going to take another sip of coffee. Very easy to use. I suggest trying it a couple times. If it resonates with you, do it for 30 days. And then just forget about it. Just let it go. Continue doing your other routines, habits, whatever. For step 1, you need to identify what you want. What is it that you want to manifest, right? So write it down. You want to write a book and get it published. You want to start a business. You want to increase your income by a certain amount of money, right? You want to make a 6-figure income. You want to make a 7-figure income, whatever, okay? We're going to move on to the actual technique. So the first thing you want to do, I'm going to take my hat off for this. My hair ain't done. It's all good. You're going to take the palms of your hand, all right? One palm on the forehead, the other palm on the back of your head, okay? Now I want you to close your eyes, just relax and start slowly breathing. Nice, slow, relaxed breathing. Somewhat deep breathing, but not to the point where you're too focused on it, right? I don't want you to be too focused on your breathing. Just nice, slow, deep breathing, okay? Now, I want you, while your eyes are closed, right? Your eyes are closed. I'm going to take my hands down for a moment. I want you to focus on what you want to manifest, okay? I want you to focus on it and now repeat it to yourself. If you're by yourself, just say it out loud. Memorize what you wrote down. You don't have to memorize it word for word, but just memorize what is it that you want, right? And so you're like this, you've relaxed, and it could be, I want to increase my income by $50,000 this year, in 2025. I want to increase my financial abundance, my income in 2025 by $50,000, right? So you're focusing on it, you're repeating it, you're just saying it out loud, okay? Now, as you're saying it out loud, I want you to start to really say it with authority, with intention, and very meaningfully, okay? And I want you to use words that really feel good to you, okay? And so here's an example. You're like this, you're focused, you're breathing, you're saying it. I want to increase my abundance by $50,000 this year. Now I want you to really say it with authority. And change these statements so that they're very clear, very emphasized. I am earning an additional $50,000 this year, and I love it, in 2025. I am truly abundant. My income is increasing by $50,000 in 2025. And I love it. It's great. I am financially prosperous and abundant. I am confidently and easily earning an additional $50,000 in income this year. And it's wonderful. I am confident in my earning ability. I am confident in my financial prosperity, abilities, my skills. I'm bringing to fruition the fact that I am earning $50,000 in income, additional income to what I already earn in 2025, right? So what I'm doing is I'm just adding emphasis. I'm adding authority. I'm adding confidence. I'm adding the present state, the fact, right? I am, right? So I'm using powerful words, powerful emphasis, and I'm really getting into it as I do this. Right? So we're still like this, right? Our eyes are closed. We're stating it out loud. We're only doing this, for a minute or so, right? You don't have to spend a ton of time. I mean, the longer the better, but you don't have to spend a ton of time doing this. So as you're doing that, you're stating it out loud. You've said it multiple times, multiple ways, using different words. You said it confidently with authority. You're emphasizing, you're really getting into it, right? The next step is to now create an image that represents whatever it is that you want. And it could be anything. The image, it doesn't really matter what the image is. The image is just a visual representation of what you want. Right? So don't get too hung up on what is it? Does it, should it be this? Should it be that? No, it doesn't matter. Whatever your brain comes up with, it's just an icon, a representation, a symbol. Okay. So whatever that is, when you do that, when you start to generate an image of what you want and how that's being represented and reflected, you're now integrating the right side of the brain, that creative imagery side. Now you're starting to integrate both sides of the brain, okay? All right, so let's get back to the technique, right? We're like this, eyes closed, nice and relaxed. We're stating, we're emphasizing, we're putting the intention of what we want out there, making it very clear, right? Now you can stop stating it out loud, and what you want to do is focus on what is that imagery, right? So usually what I like to do is just put a smile on my face like this. And you're just going to spend the next minute or so just visualizing with whatever creative imagery shows up for you. So, for example, that $50,000 in extra income that you're going to earn this year, you could just visualize it showing up as $50,000 check, right? You have a $50,000 check. It could be an extra $50,000 in your bank account, or you're seeing your end of the year income statement or your W-2, whatever it is, and there's an extra $50,000 there. Or it could be you just sharing with others, the great success you had and that you earned an extra $50,000. Maybe you're sharing it with someone you really care about that would love to hear about your success. Whatever way that creative imagery shows up for you, again, don't get too hung up on what it is. It's just symbolic, and it gets both sides of the brain integrated here, which is really powerful. Now, when you do this, when you get the creative imagery, and it might take a little bit of practice to do this, especially if you've never visualized before, but just spend a minute or two just kind of visualizing creative imagery to represent whatever that is that you want to manifest. And you need to do it to the point where it starts to drum up an emotion. You should start to have emotions drum up. When you're doing this properly and your eyes are closed and you're focusing now on the imagery, the symbolic creative imagery of what you want to manifest, it should feel really good because you're seeing images that really represent what you want. And so it should generate an emotion, and that's where the power lies. So that emotion could be gratitude for having what you want. It could be joy and happiness for seeing, maybe you're taking your family out on more vacations. You see your kids playing and with certain things you would like to purchase them, or on the beach, or whatever, things that would bring you, intense joy because of the creative imagery, because you have what you want. You manifested what you want, right? So you have to generate the imagery to the point where it's so real that you're drumming up emotions of gratitude, joy, happiness. And if you do this really powerfully, you may even start to feel tears, right? You may start to be on the verge of crying with such joy and gratitude. Now that's powerful. And I've been there. It doesn't always happen, but if you really get into this and you're doing it right, you're going to feel good emotions. The more intense, the better, because that's where the real power is. Now, once you've generated that emotion or emotions, just sit with it, feel it. Where are you feeling it in your body? You may feel this intense happiness and gratitude in the heart area. Maybe you feel chills going up. All right, so you've done this for a couple minutes. You've created the imagery. You've felt the emotions. You felt it in your body. Now, with your hands still on your head, hopefully your shoulders aren't getting too tired yet, but with your eyes closed still, you will now, with confidence and intention, say out loud, I now know all of this to be true, and I know it to the depths of my being. And by stating this pronouncement out loud, you're committing to hanging on to this new belief. We've integrated both sides of the brain. We know what we want. We've found the creative imagery that's symbolic for what we want. We've tied it with emotion. We've pronounced this intention out loud. We're telling our subconscious mind to hang on to this new belief. Now, there's a couple more steps. So you're still going to be like this. With your eyes closed, you've said your pronouncement out loud. Now you're going to just spend another 20, 30 seconds focusing on what you want, right? What you wrote down in the beginning, what you want to manifest, right? I want to, increase my income by $50,000 this year in 2025, right? You don't have to say this out loud. You're just going to focus on that which you desire. You're going to focus one more time on whatever that creative imagery is, just for, 5-10 seconds. And you're going to generate that emotion one more time, right? You're tying all this together. The emotion of joy and gratitude, you're feeling it in your body, right? And now you're going to open your eyes and you're going to look to the left and to the right about 15 to 20 times, right? Might be a little odd, but just do this, 15, 20 times. In this part of it, you're synchronizing the brain hemispheres to this intention, to this new belief, and you're firing and wiring new neural pathways. So what do you think? You think you could do it? Again, I did this for 1 month in 2019 and had amazing manifestations over the course of the next year. I haven't used this technique since then. Now, like I said, I was still doing my tapping, my journaling, my visualization exercises. I wasn't just doing this alone, but you could, right? Again, if this resonates with you, give it a try. So there's really only about 5 or 6 steps here. Once you get the hang of it and you start doing it, try to do it 2-3 times a day. And you really only got to do this for 2 to 3 minutes, right? If you want to spend 5 minutes, fine. But it doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out process. Even if you do it once a day, it's going to be more powerful than not doing it at all. And try to dedicate yourself to doing it for 30 days. One other thing I like to mention is that I only share techniques, practices, and knowledge that have worked for me in my own personal life. I'm not going to share something if I've not tried it or I haven't had success with it, but I've used this technique. I shared some of the notes, details on some of the amazing manifestations that occurred that were tied to my intention, and it's pretty powerful. So give it a shot. Let me know how it goes. I'll see you on the next video.